Today we're talking music, but it's not going to be all about our favourite songs and bands. We're talking about why music hits us the way it does, why we like certain songs, how music can instantly transport us back to a certain time and place, and what effect does music have on our brains. You are going to hear about a couple of our favourite tracks, but we'll get you thinking about your favourite tracks and why they mean what they mean to you. Welcome to the Gen XZ Exchange. I'm Chris Perkins, Gen X parent, now 50-something empty nester.
And I'm Lily Perkins, Gen Z career explorer. We swap insights on career choices, work and life in general.
So whether you're a Gen X parent trying to figure out midlife's challenges,
or a Gen Z young professional or student figuring out adulthood, you're in the right place. First of all, thanks to listener Paul Burgess for suggesting this topic. We had great fun compiling this episode and we hope you enjoy it as well. Let's dive right in, why don't we, Dad? Can you please tell me your favourite song and why?
Yeah, Pet Shop Boys, Opportunities, Let's Make Lots of Money. I can unashamedly say that. I was 16, had a bit of a crush on Neil Tennant at the time. I once went in to get a haircut and took a picture of him and said, make me look like that. And at 16, I kind of took the song literally. I just had this idea that I wanted to be rich and saw this as a bit of an anthem. That was what I thought life had in store for me. Unfortunately, that hasn't been the case, but that's what I was thinking of at 16.
Weren't we all?
Only later that I realised that they were being ironic and the two people in the song are actually idiots and their schemes are doomed to failure. But I was really into that style of music, and when it was released, it was just a really formative time, and that song struck a chord.
Nice, yeah.
How about you, Lil?
I hate this question in relation to films, food, literally anything. I hate having to choose just one. I feel like if I say one thing, that's it, locked in forever, and that's too big a decision for me. But I can go off of favourites that I have for like different eras of my life. So songs that remind me of a certain age or things I was doing at the time. Which is similar to your playlist for life that you
we'll
made.
come and talk about
your
that.
Different eras. Yep. For this period, I'm probably going to have to say a song called Fact 2 by Poison Girlfriend, which is like this funky kind of trip hoppy, dream poppy song from the 90s that I think you would really like, actually. I don't know if I played it for you already or not.
I don't recognise it, and I haven't heard of that song title or artist.
No, you would like it. I'll play it for you afterwards. So that's my fave for just now. Don't make me sign that away for
until something else comes along.
Exactly. So anyways, what do we know about why and how a song becomes a favourite?
This was really interesting to look into. So it's usually during our formative years, which researchers deem as being between the ages of 12 and 22. And as you know, our brains are developing rapidly at that time and our identities are forming and we're experiencing lots of firsts, like first kiss, first gig, first drive, first heartbreak. And there are three things that tend to draw us in to our favourite song. The first is what they call the sound sweet spot. So we like certain sounds, we have certain preferences.
Yeah.
But if a song is too predictable, it's a bit boring. So anything that follows a pattern we like but then breaks it surprises us. If there's a melody or a hook that our brain finds really satisfying to resolve, it rewards us with a little dopamine hit. And if you've ever played a favourite song again and again and again, that's us craving the dopamine, and the connection that imprints on us is quite powerful. So that's how it can first get in there as an earworm. The second thing is the artist. We often want to be the artist, like me and Neil Tennant.
And your haircut pictures, yep.
Yeah, and we mirror what they're like, so we form another really strong connection there. And the third thing is the relatability factor in the message in the song. If it says things we couldn't find the words for, or it makes us feel a little less alone in what we're thinking or feeling, we connect to it that way too. Any of those hold true for you, Lily?
So yeah, the first one, the sound sweet spot one, 100% for that one. So that Fact 2 song I was talking about has this really cool layered production at the start. As I was listening along to the intro, I was thinking this is so cool and different. So I imagine that would be very satisfying to the brain. And then I actually saw Poison Girlfriend last summer at Rally Festival in London with Peter. I just remember thinking her and her band were really cool. Just loved her whole vibe. There was probably an element there of being like, oh, I want to be like you.
Yeah.
And then finally for her lyrics, would also have to agree. As you know, as an English student who really likes poetry, I do pay really close attention to lyrics. And one of her albums in particular, I think that's like her main one, Melting Moment, has lyrics that I really connected with. So all 3 boxes checked.
All 3 ticked.
On there.
Yeah. So there must be something to it. Yeah. So apparently for us oldies, our brains hold a disproportionately large number of memories from that 12 to 22 period, which is something called the Reminiscence Bump. So when we hear a song from that period when we were younger, there's the nostalgic memory, but where that memory is held in the prefrontal cortex is wired directly to the limbic system, which handles emotion. So when we hear a song from that bump period, we're not only recalling where we were, but our brain is flushed with the emotions we felt at that time. So if I hear Opportunities, I am taken right back to playing the Pet Shop Boys in my bedroom at home and dreaming of being rich at 16. So you get that kind of kick.
It does literally transport you right back to where you were. And like we were talking about earlier on, I'm really bad for listening to songs on repeat. So it'll just remind me of like a certain walk I was on where I just listened to that song. I feel like Reminiscence Bump would be a good name for a band.
It would.
Maybe if the podcasting doesn't work out, we can branch out into that.
Yeah.
But also I think there's something about your tribe at that age between 12, 22. The music is kind of a big part of what binds you together with your people.
Yeah.
So it was maybe more pronounced when you were growing up in the 80s. That was like a pure thing. But still a pretty big deal to us in the 2010s, I would say, because you can kind of signal to other people about who you are through how you look, what kind of like subcultures you belong to, what you wear, all that kind of stuff. And as a teenager, music is a big part of that social glue. For my friend group, which formed in school, for example, we were all massively bonded over our shared music taste. And I spent a lot of my teenage years going to gigs with my pals, like showing each other new bands that we found that we all liked, sharing headphones in class, like swapping playlists. So I think that's a big part of why we all got on so well and stayed pals for so long. You're like bonded together.
Absolutely. And the friends from school that I'm still friends with now, we were all part of that same tribe, had similar music tastes, would go to clubs and gigs together, and we're still friends like 40 years later. Yeah.
Nice.
And obviously the 80s was the best decade for all those musical tribes, so we have that in our favour too. So the other thing that's always puzzled me about music and our brains is that if you asked me to recite the lyrics of an 80s song right now, I would probably struggle depending on what the song was. But if you started playing the song, I could sing along all the way through. I'd know what the next line was before it comes up. But what's going on there? Is that something you had a look at?
Yes. So what this is all about is the difference between your declarative memory and your procedural memory. So your declarative memory is remembering a fact, so like a line of poetry or a lyric, and this is knowing a thing. It requires a conscious effort, whereas your procedural memory is knowing how to do something, so like how to sing a song. So the song and the lyrics are stored more like a motor skill, like how you would, tie shoelaces, ride a bike, swim. And so when the music starts up, it's not a memory test, but it's more like a reflex. Your brain is running the procedure of how to sing this song, if that makes sense. On top of that, you actually have 2 more things going on that help you remember lyrics. So the lyrics and melody are encoded in your brain in 2 ways at the same time, verbally and musically. So if you forget a word, the music acts as kind of a scaffold, which triggers your brain to fill in the blanks as well.
Okay.
There's also a theory about the motor element of perception, that we subconsciously kind of hum along with our vocal cords. So even if we're just listening to a song silently on our own, when the song starts up, we've physically practiced it maybe thousands of times already. So the muscle memory then takes over. So yeah, it's more of a physical thing at that point as well than just a mental remembrancy thing.
So that explains it. That's why I can't recall a lyric on its own. Like, could you tell me the lyrics from whatever song?
Yeah.
But I can instantly sing, as soon as the song starts. Yeah, it's that muscle memory.
Your brain just snaps into action. So now, Dad, let's talk new music.
Okay.
This is my favourite thing to talk about. I love finding new stuff. So one of the things I want to discuss is a study that was done by Deezer in 2018 that actually makes me really sad.
Oh.
Because it said that most people stop seeking out new music when they reach 30 and a half years old.
Wow.
I know. And I feel like that's an awfully young age to stop trying to find new music.
You're not far off that now.
I know. Well, that will not be happening to me. Thank you. Deezer calls this musical paralysis and put it down to people feeling overwhelmed by musical choice. Because if you think about it, you have so many different streaming platforms and they've all got millions of songs on them. And also the element of being busy with jobs and parenting and life in general, which makes sense because as much as I love to like find new music and, you know, sit in my room listening to music, I'm only really able to do that because I have so much alone time, which isn't really a thing if you have proper adult responsibilities.
Indeed.
And children and stuff, so that's fair enough. And then people also shift from wanting to explore and find new things to just feeling more comfortable with their familiar choices. Maybe it's a nostalgia element, you know. But 60% of people from this age said they felt stuck in a musical rut. And then 47% of them, wished they could explore more. So is this an issue for you?
No.
I think I know why.
And that's because of your mum.
Yes, exactly.
She is an
Radio 6 warrior.
She's an avid listener of BBC Six music. And when she hears something she likes, she Shazams it and adds that to a playlist. And then often when we're in the car somewhere, she'll play that Radio 6 Shazam playlist in the car. So I get to hear new things that way. And for a long, long time, she has always recorded later with Jules Holland, which is great for showcasing new acts. And we whiz through that on Catch Up because it's on too late for us to stay up and watch live, but we'll always kind of go through it. Great for new music. As you know, Mum discovered Confidence Man before you or Charlie, and that was from their appearance on Jules Holland.
She gets lots of cool points for that.
She does. So, yeah, I get a lot of new music through that. Radio X is more my taste, and they do play mostly things I'm familiar with, but I've also heard new bands that I've got to like on there. And when I used to do a lot of traveling, one of the things I did enjoy on my way home late at night was listening to John Kennedy's new music show on Radio X. And that reminded me of listening to people you have maybe never heard of, John Peel, Janice Long, Annie Nightingale, Steve Lamacq, all the people that used to do the new music shows on Radio 1. And then for club music and dance music, it was people like Mike Allen, Pete Tong, Judge Jules. That's where I would get all my new music from.
Yeah.
But then you don't really listen to the radio, do you? So I'm curious as to where you go for new music.
Well, I actually do want to start listening to the radio more because for Christmas, Peter got me, you'll never believe this, you'll find this really funny. Peter got me a pink CD player, like the one that I used to have, because I am into, I like albums, I like listening to albums. So my CD player, I've got my CDs all ready to go, and that obviously is a radio. I know, but I like it. I like being able to just put that on, clean my room. But that also has a radio like setting, so I'm going to try and listen to some more Radio 6 as well because I do enjoy a bit of Radio 6. But then on the more like digital front, I am actually planning on switching from Spotify to another streaming service at some point this year because I do think a lot of the time their recommendations can be a bit like shit and repetitive. But that being said, I do get a couple of gems in there every once in a while, and usually if it recommends me a new artist, I'll go through and they have playlists that are like influences, or you know, similar to this person. So I find a lot of music by doing that. If I'm looking for a specific vibe or something similar to someone else, Reddit can also be really good. There's lots of good, lots of good music forums in there. And it's funny because sometimes people do get really specific about the kind of moods that they want music for.
Yeah.
So it's always funny to have a wee scroll through there. Obviously, me and Peter both send each other a lot of music. We have quite similar tastes, but also introduce each other to a bunch of new stuff, which is nice. Friends, same thing. And then I think my favourite method of discovering music, because I guess you could say it feels the most organic, even though it's not necessarily like the way I do it, is Shazam. I love Shazam. And I like being, like, for example, we were just in Manchester, we were in a really cool record shop, And this is the part that's probably less organic, because I did purposefully stand around for like 40 minutes just in the shop, just Shazamming every song that came on their playlist. But to me, I was like, oh, I discovered it on my own. It wasn't recommended to me by an algorithm. So Shazam all the way. Best invention ever.
So when you're in clubs, do you still, I know like Peter might be DJing, but if it's not him DJing, do you sometimes go up to the DJ booth and say, what is this track?
Oh, this is funny. This is like a good intergenerational point, actually, because the Gen Z version of that, which I think a lot of DJs have like mixed feelings about, people put their phone screen like on black on Snapchat, and then we'll type in big letters track ID ? And hold it up to the booth, which is, I think, kind of frowned upon, but that's the new version, because you can't really get into the DJ booth. Like if I was going to go to Sub Club, if I was to try and like distract the DJ from their mix and be like, what song is this, people would be like, so it's not as like personal as I think it used to be from what you've told me about.
Yeah, and it was maybe a bit more intimate in terms of being able to go up to the booth or get to the booth, and it was all vinyl, but a lot of DJs would put stickers over the labels, so you couldn't just lean over and look at what it was, if they didn't want you to know. Yeah. And in the kind of Ibiza Balearic days, when a lot of different things came together, I have a really vivid memory. The club I used to go to was one of Andy Weatherall's early residences. Absolute legend. R.I.P. Andy, we love you. And I remember him playing a track which I already had. I'd already tracked down and had gone to the DJ booth to something. Another guy came up and asked what it was. And it's an old Simple Minds track called Theme for Great Cities, just off one of their albums. And Andy had said this to him. He's like, where do I get it? Where do I get it? And I just turned to him and said, like, just HMV. It's Simple Minds. It's not difficult to get hold of. But there's this thing that, these tracks at the time were difficult to get hold of, and not so much now, I guess, with all the streaming services.
That's interesting. That's an interesting little generational crossroads there. It's definitely changed a lot. I'll need to take you to the club one day so you can see the vibes.
Oh, blimey. I'm not sure up to that.
You might not hack it.
Well, going back to that Reminiscence Bump thing, apparently, there's something called the cascading reminiscence bump, where studies have shown that Gen Z can feel nostalgic for music that was released before they were born.
Oh, definitely.
Because their parents played it when they were growing up. So all those cool tunes that we played in the car are now part of your reminiscence bump.
Definitely. And also, I remember like in the old house, the kitchen, there was always music playing in that kitchen. So there's certain songs I hear now. And was it Spaceman by the Killers? Like, takes me right back to that kitchen. It's crazy.
Oh, cool.
There's loads of songs like that.
I was always worried that you and Charlie might rebel against our musical tastes, which I've always thought were quite cool. And when you became teenagers, you would really get into R&B.
Yeah, I remember. And also, we were banned from listening to the Saturdays because you also didn't want us listening to like shit chart pop. But I have to say, I do like some R&B, and the Saturdays have a couple bangers, you have to admit.
Yeah, I mean, no offence to anyone that really likes R&B, but it's not really my thing, and I wouldn't have enjoyed hearing that a lot in the house at high volume and things on repeat. So thank you, Lily, for not going in that direction while you were still living at home.
Not fully anyways. Yeah. So here's an idea that might help a bit of intergenerational cross-pollination of musical tastes. Have a parent, child, or family listening party. We've done this quite a lot, actually, kind of like by accident, because we all just have a go playing something on the telly or on the Sonos, and that can be quite fun. So you each pick 4 songs to play each other and explain why you picked them. And then the 4 songs, I think it works best if they represent these categories. So number 1 would be the identity track. So this is a song that if you walked into the room when you were 17, you wanted it playing so everyone knew who you were. And it can be from any era. It doesn't have to be from when you were 17, but something that you imagine your 17-year-old self would resonate with, right? And then we've got the mood shift. So it can kind of be just anything you use to change your mood. So it could be positive, negative. It could be, I need to get loads of work done right now. Or it could be like, oh, I need to go and cry in my bedroom, you know? And then something that has your favourite hook ever. So it could be one sound in a song that you go crazy for. It could be like a synth hook, a bass line, guitar riff, obviously, drum solo, whatever. But why does that specific sound tickle your brain. What is it about the song? And then finally, I think this one, I love a cover. So the cover version. So is there a cover that you know that you think is maybe better than the original, or is just a very creative reworking of that original that makes it so that it stands out on its own? So those are my 4 categories.
All right. Shall we quickly whiz through them then?
Let's go for it. You go first.
So identity track, well, when I was 17, I could easily have been Pet Shop Boys' Opportunities, because I was taking it literally. Because
you were stupid.
Yeah. Thinking back when I was 17 and like stupid 17-year-old boy, The Man by The Killers also could have been a bit of an anthem. If I walked into a party, that's what I expected everyone would think of me.
Basically, any song that's like ironic, ripping the piss out of who you were trying to be. When you were 17, you would have said, yeah, this is my jam.
Yeah, but Brandon has said he wrote The Man about himself in his younger days.
Yeah.
You know, that's who he thought he was before they'd made it big.
I think that's a good choice. And it's also a tune.
Right, how about you? Identity track.
This is another one. Identity, that feels like a very big decision to be making. So this is my disclaimer that I'm not tied into this for life. But I think the obvious choice would be Tulsa Jesus Freak by Lana Del Rey, because I have a big fuck off tattoo of a lyric from that song on my arm. So
you are kind of tied into that song for life.
So I am. Oh no. Yeah, but like if it's like an ambiguous lyric, then I feel like it's not as bad. If someone asks me straight up, you know.
Yeah. Okay. But yes, that clearly is very definitely something.
No, I am tied in for life, so
with.
that is the obvious choice. Yes. And then what did we have for number 2? Mood shift. What's your mood shift song?
Relight My Fire. It is not a Take That song. The original Relight My Fire by Dan Hartman was a disco classic originally, and then was a club classic in my clubbing days. I just instantly feel happy whenever I hear that song, probably because it takes me right back to those days, which I loved. But it's like a 7 or 8 minute epic, the original 12-inch, and it's just such a happy song. That is absolutely something that can just cheer me up instantly.
Yeah, that's a nice song. For me, my mood shift would probably, so this is a song that I put on if I need to lock in basically and get loads of work done, and I've written whole essays just listening to this song on a loop, like pulled all-nighters just with this on the background, and it is Burn Them Bridges by Skin on Skin. So when this came out, I got absolutely rinsed. There wasn't, like, between the ages of like 19 and 20, there wasn't a club night I went to where this song wasn't getting played. But to be fair, I will never get tired of it. It's such a tune, and it makes me just want to write like essays. I don't know, well, not obviously just that, but if I put it on to write an essay, the essay will be getting done. So that's good.
Cool. I'm going to have to listen to these tracks of yours after we've finished this recording. Interesting.
I'll send you a playlist.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think the next one was, what is a song with a crazy hook that is just like addictive? So
2 for me. Before this was in the John Lewis Christmas ad this year, Alison Limerick, Where Love Lives, is the best piano riff ever. It just makes me want to dance. Totally funky. And bassline would be the bassline from Two Tribes by Frankie Goes to Hollywood. I have always wanted to sample that in a dance track. I will do that one day. I just think it's the best bassline ever.
You can get a shot of Peter's new mixer.
Except I think we could maybe collaborate on something. Yeah,
need to pry it out of his cold dead hands at this rate.
Okay, and best hook for you?
For me, this is a song that Peter actually showed me. It's called Work That Body, but it's the Intrigue Hard Club mix. And it's got this crazy bass line in it. I don't know how, it's just like a really nice bass line through the full song. And it makes me feel like I'm in like a video game, like driving a fast car or something.
Okay.
And then also the Confidence Man, 3am, La La La, Jimmy Cotty mix.
Oh, the KLF remix. Oh, I love you for saying that.
I know, but you know the bit where it's like, it goes like you have to edit that out. That was what, but it like chops up the, what is it, the ancients of
ancients of, there's a misheard lyric. It's the ancients of Moo Moo,
and it's the bit where it's like chopping up the ancients bit, and then also the la 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 la, like that.
Yeah,
is just very...
that's such a good combination. KLF remixing Confidence Man, which the album was kind of inspired by. So yeah, so the Ancients of Moo is because the KLF were also known as the Jams, which is the Justified Ancients of Moo.
I love how random that is.
Yeah, I can school you on some KLF history later.
Excited.
So yeah, that's cool. And then the final one, cover version. So it's maybe not cover version, but reworking, because there are very few cover versions that I think are better than the original. But in terms of a really creative reworking, Something Good by Utah Saints reworking Kate Bush.
Ooh.
I just know that something good is going to happen. When I first heard that, my mind was blown in terms of like a dance act taking a Kate Bush song, and it was just phenomenal. So that would be it for me.
Nice. For mine, like I said, I quite like a cover, especially if it's something a bit, if it, you know, puts a fun spin on it. I like Don't Go to Strangers, which I think originally that's an Etta James song, but Amy Winehouse and Paul Weller covered it on Jules Holland.
I don't think I've seen that. What a combination of their voices.
It's so good. It's like he starts off and then Amy comes in and I just immediately start crying.
Ooh.
So that's a really, really good, just because Amy Winehouse has a very special place in my heart anyways.
Yeah.
And then also another one, again, kind of a sad one, an honourable mention would be Lana Del Rey's cover of The Other Woman, which is originally Nina Simone, but she does this, like, I don't know, it sounds like haunting and spooky. And
oh, I bet. Yeah, I can imagine Lana's voice doing that. Yeah.
The original is also very sad, but it makes it a bit like scary and eerie almost. So big fan of those two.
Yeah, I'm going to have to listen to all of these. Fantastic.
So moving on, let's talk a bit about live music, because as a family, we all love going to gigs, and I wanted to look into what makes a great live performance beyond just great songs. And this is really interesting. So there are 3 things that can make for an amazing gig. The first is something called collective effervescence, which I like the sound of just saying on its own.
Another good band name.
Exactly. So this was coined by a sociologist called Emile Durkheim, I think her last name is pronounced. And it's what she describes as the holy moment when a group of people abandon their individuality and become part of a single shared identity. So one of the ways bands can do this is by getting the audience to sing back to them, or like even the waving hands that put your lighters in the air, that kind of thing. You're all verifying that you belong to the same tribe because you can hear that everyone knows the words, and it triggers this massive release of oxytocin in everyone, which is a bonding hormone.
Oh, yeah, they say it's the hugging hormone, don't they?
Yeah, so, exactly. It feels like a big hug.
Brought together, yeah.
The second thing is the sync effect, which is a weird physiological thing. So a study of concert goers found that during high energy moments, the audience's heart rates and breathing can actually synchronize. A great frontman or woman can be a biological conductor.
Right.
By controlling the tempo and the pauses, they can physically align the nervous systems of thousands of strangers in the room, and everyone in the room can feel it at a subconscious level. I'm sure you've felt that when, you know, especially in like a big venue like the Hydro or something. So more transactional bands would just play their tracks and don't really bring people together like this. So it maybe feels a bit flat.
Yeah, you can kind of feel that at gigs, like just this sense that everyone is
no one's synced up. Yeah. So then the third thing is called the mirror neuron loop. So when we see a band giving it everything, like a guitarist giving it us all, loads of passion, a drummer dripping in sweat, our brain's mirror neurons fire as if we're the ones doing that. So bands that look totally wrecked when they've given it everything are basically forcing the audience to feel that effect physically as well. So the bands that just play it cool and are like up on stage like, yeah, whatever, I'm playing this big massive gig, no big deal. I feel like that's what prevents that loop from happening, and why it also can feel like it falls a bit flat.
Wow. That is so cool, all of those things going on. You do kind of get that feeling, you know, when it's an amazing gig, and it's not just the songs, it is, you know, some of that element of the performance that has made the difference. And, you know, one of the things I really like at a gig that I talk about is when the band has really good chat.
Yes, definitely.
If it's just like, thank you, this next one is called, it's like, no, give us some proper chat.
Yeah, I don't want to just sound like you're reading off a script.
Yeah, did you find out anything about that?
So I did actually. It's funny you mentioned that. If the band are just playing it safe with the chat, like we were saying, following a script, the same old, like, how are we doing tonight? This song is called blah, blah. that can feel really transactional. But if they make the chat unique to that night, the city they're in, whatever, we then feel like we're actually participating in the event, and it's not just this, we're not just, a passive audience.
Right, okay.
So if the band acknowledges someone with a banner that says something funny, or, reference, like when a lot of people come to Glasgow, they talk about like, oh, I tried Buckfast today, or I did this, like that makes it feel a bit more personal. Or even like admitting, oh, we messed up in that last song, having a bit of a laugh.
Yeah.
It proves that the night is unique to that audience and then makes it better. Also, if they provide some context to introduce a song, so not just this song is, but that's a bit dull. If they say something like, I wrote this one at 4 o'clock in the morning in a hotel room because I was missing my dog or whatever, we can then picture the scene, and it makes the intent behind the song stronger, makes things feel more authentic, and again, it makes the gig more fun, more enjoyable. And then sometimes a band will use stand-up comedy techniques such as the callback, so referring to something from earlier on in the set, like someone in the front row doing some crazy dancing, a funny banner that we saw, and an inside joke with the city, whatever. And then we feel like we're all in on this inside joke, and it's a way for the band to reward the audience for being there on that night, not just any night.
Cool.
Again,
So I knew there was a reason why I enjoy a gig with good
a
chat.
bit of chat.
More.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It makes it personal, makes it special, makes it more fun. All of the above.
And sometimes like a band will do a special cover at your gig, because
Yeah,
it's
I love that.
another band from that city, or it's just, they'll change the setup a little bit. You saw something different at that gig compared to the others on the tour. You feel part of a unique experience, yeah.
Yep.
I did very briefly want to mention something about music that I think is really important, might be relevant to some people listening. As you know, Lily, I compiled my playlist for life that you mentioned earlier a while ago. Yep. All of my favourite songs, and I shared it with you and Charlie with what I called my listening notes and why they're all important to me. And I did that because I'd seen something on the news a while ago about Alex Ferguson doing it for a dementia charity, which is actually called Playlist for Life. And when Grandad's dementia had worsened, when I used to visit him in the nursing home, sometimes I would just play his favourite songs on my phone, and it would really calm him down, make him happy.
Yeah, I've seen videos of that online as well. Yeah,
I looked into why music works so well for people with dementia, and a lot of it relates to what we've already spoken about with our favourite songs, but there's also some other things going on. And the area of the brain that stores those musical memories is one of the last areas to be affected by Alzheimer's disease. So those memories still work when others have gone. And also neurologists have found that music can kind of jumpstart the brain to some extent. So I knew a different part of the brain controls singing compared to speech. Because when I was at university, we had someone who had a really bad stammer who was in a band and was an amazing singer. And what they found regarding dementia is that music can briefly reorganize those neural pathways, and it allows someone who's lost speech to sing fluently. And can also help people with motor issues like Parkinson's to dance. Music literally animates the nervous system, which I thought was amazing.
That's really cool, yeah.
So if anyone in your family has these kind of conditions, try playing their favourite songs. It can calm any anxiety or bring them a bit of joy, or even help them connect with you if they've lost speech. And that's what led me to compile my playlist for life, because music is so powerful. So you can pass that on to my carers, Lily, at some stage, and keep me happy in my old age just by playing all of those tracks.
You'll just be in your rocking chair listening to Pet Shop Boys.
Yeah, that's cool.
Of course.
Yeah. And related to that, I just wanted to add something about film music. Over Christmas, I watched the 50th anniversary documentary about Jaws, which has some of the most famous film music ever. And Steven Spielberg said something really interesting, and I'm going to quote this. He said, "All human beings come equipped to be able to suspend our disbelief, to be transported more by music than by any other single art stimulus. Music, with our eyes closed, will take us places that no other medium or art form can take us." And I think that is so true. It's such an amazing thing. I've always loved music and what it can do, and I think I always will.
Yeah, me too. I really like that quote. That's really nice.
And I think with the Jaws music, Spielberg said John Williams told us when to react and when to start getting ready for an attack.
Yeah, I'm feeling a bit like uncomfortable actually. I can hear the Jaws music in my head and I'm getting a bit...
Yeah, because you just know that kind of doo-doo.
Yeah, don't. It's horrible.
No, you think of that music and I think you go right back to feeling scared about getting back in the water from when you first saw Jaws. And it's an incredible example of how evocative music can be.
Okie doke. So one final thing to end on a fun note instead of a scary one, because you've kind of given me the heebie-jeebies by singing that song. Let's talk about lyrics that we might have misheard and that you've sung wrong for ages until someone's pointed it out. Maybe quite embarrassingly, you've realised you've been singing the wrong thing.
One comes to mind for me. I'll also share one of Mum's with you, which is actually where I think the misheard lyric potentially is better than the real lyric.
Well, if it's from Mum, that makes sense.
I went along with this for years until we discovered what the real lyric was. But Mum thought in Mr. Brightside, the lyric was jealousy turning sex into deceit, which actually makes song...
That's a banger.
Actually makes sense for the song.
Yeah.
But then we discovered the actual lyric is turning saints into the sea.
Yeah.
Don't really get that?
Yeah, that's
But anyway, we had misheard that, but maybe Mum's version is better than the Killer's. Who knows?
Mum should get into like ghostwriting or something. Should be good.
And mine, which Charlie takes the mickey out of me for, because like it's the title of the song. I don't know how I got this wrong. Long Shot by Catfish and the Bottlemen, for ages I thought was one of our loan sharks is paid off. Right. Instead of Long Shot.
I knew that one. That was such a... Like, I mean, that does make sense as the lyric on its own, but given that the song is called Long Shot, you're just
I really should have figured that out, yeah.
You should have, but that's all right. Mine's isn't... So, I can actually think of any that I've misheard, probably just because I'm so smart and clever and I don't make silly mistakes like you do. But one that I remember like joking about in school is Ariana Grande has a song called One Last Time, and she goes like, I know I should have fought it, but if you listen to it, it sounds like I know I should have fought it. If you listen to it, it sounds like she's going, I know I should have farted. So that, like, I still sing it because it was such a joke, like, in school. I still, when I hear that song, I'm like, I know I should have farted. Does sound like it.
Cool. There's something you could look up after this. In the days like when we were recording things on tape off the radio, like you could get some notoriously dodgy quality tapes. But there was an advertising campaign by a company called Maxell, and you'll probably find this on YouTube. Fantastic television ad with a guy holding those sort of white placards with things written on them with marker pens. And there were clips of songs, and his placards had all of the misheard lyrics on.
I feel like I might have seen that actually. That's ringing a bell.
The last card is, I think that's what they're saying, but I'd need to hear it on a Maxell.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, they're really good quality cassette tapes.
That's
yeah,
clever.
and I'm sure that ad will still be on YouTube somewhere.
Love a good advert. I'll go and look it up afterwards. We'll make our playlist for the show notes and we'll go and look up the good advert.
Cool. So, what do we think has maybe changed or struck us about music from all of the things that we've looked into?
I just enjoyed having a blather with you about music. I feel like very fortunate that our family is so into music and we've all enjoyed sharing songs and playlists and going to gigs together and stuff. But also when we're looking into this stuff, actually learning about the psychology of things is really interesting, especially what was the first thing that I thought was going to be a band name called again?
Reminiscence Bump.
Exactly. I like learning about the Reminiscence Bump because it does resonate. You literally hear a song and you're like, oh, that reminds me of that kind of peak era. So I like that.
And that you're nostalgic for songs from before you were born because of what we would play in the kitchen. Yeah, that's cool.
That is very true. What was yours?
Yeah, same for me. I think it was a great chat. You have inspired me with probably about a dozen or so songs that I hadn't heard of before we did this that I'm going to go away and listen to. And it's nice being able to share it. Maybe when we're together with Mum and Charlie, we do that little 4-track listening party thing and play the songs for each other. That would be a fun one. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do a new
So,
one.
music does bring you together in all sorts of ways, whether it's live music or, reminiscing about sort of times gone by and favourite tracks. Yeah, it's fantastic.
If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to rate it and leave us a review, because it really helps push the podcast out to new audiences, and we really appreciate it.
In our next episode, we're going to build on an episode we did a while ago around job interviews and talk about CVs. And we have a special guest, a professional CV writer, to talk to us about what makes for a really good CV in today's market. So whether you've got lots of experience and you're confused about how to present it all, or if you're just starting out and don't have a lot of work experience, what can you put on a CV that is going to get you that interview? So that's coming up.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Gen XZ Exchange.